Hey, what's up, you guys? This is WD3, and this is your Hill Report News Break. Today we're going to be talking about the interview that DC Baby Draco, Wack 100, and Spody Face had today. Very controversial stuff. Um, what I saw today, I thought it was just going to be more tomfoolery, more things to just kind of rest the mind on. But what I end up seeing was something that was pretty remarkable, a conversation that really had me really tuned in and wondering, like, I wonder if other people are seeing just kind of the humanity and the thoughtfulness that I'm seeing behind each of these persons, uh, their actions and what they've said before. Now, a lot of this, you have to remember if you're looking at a boxing match, of course, you know these guys train, been boxing all their lives, but you have to kind of build some interest in the boxing match, even if it's gonna be the best match technically that the boxing world has ever seen. But you gotta draw in the greater world and let them know that hey, this is something that you ought to tune into uh, if you want to see something done at a high level. So, uh, what we have is a conversation that is very spontaneous, impromptu, according to all reports. Wack 100 says that he pulled up, he was invited to a show between Spody Face and Bro Rogan. And we did see these same guys on No Jumper today. Uh, it's very interesting to see this interview because Wack 100 says that he connected with DC Draco, DC Baby Draco. Shout out to those guys. And he agreed to go and pull up on Spody Face. Now, Spody Face has been pushing peace. He's known to be a Rolling 40s Crips, the cousin of 4 Extra, which probably means he's the cousin of what's the other guy's name? Um, I forget the littler guy, but anyway, shout out to those guys and their movement. I know it's got extra and it might be Exfo or something like that, but all those guys are very talented family, very thoughtful family. Whack 100, a lot of people have villainized them. Uh, They've drug his name through the mud, said he's basically the next assistant attorney general of the United States. But when I heard this interview, it made a lot of sense on kind of his movement and what he is trying to do. It seems like if he was really trying to just have pure content and didn't care about the individuals that were involved in this interview, he probably could have been like, all right, Jerry Springer, right, and fight. But he didn't do that. He very eloquently explained for the audience kind of his purpose for bringing those guys together. And um, you could see Spody Face, the mental conflict between all the things that he's dealing with. I mean, the guy probably has a family. He says he's going to school. Um, his cousin has suddenly skyrocketed into a lot of fame. They've both been in a lot of trouble. They have other neighborhoods who are their enemies, who are basically just simply blocks away. Um, Me, I grew up in Pasadena, California. There was only a few gangs in Pasadena: the Altadena Block Crips, the Pasadena Denver Lanes, I think the Squiggly Lanes, the Raymonds, the Figaro. big city like Pasadena, I'm only naming a handful, but LA, you're talking about every few blocks, you're talking about hundreds. So that's a lot of stress just going to the store, going to the mall, just trying to live your everyday life. So I've always, I got a baseball scholarship at 17 and went off to Oklahoma, University of Oklahoma Sooners, and playing for the national champion. So my life was a lot different than if I was automatically. I played with a lot of guys in all-star games and stuff who were from the inner city of LA. We've even went down and played a lot of the LA teams, and I didn't understand what the stress on those players were. I always tell a story of how I was playing flag football. I think I was in like the middle school, and we went to Hoover Middle School. I went to uh, Woodrow Wilson Middle School in Pasadena, California. We went to Hoover Middle School and played a flag football game. I don't know, I didn't even get in the game, tell you the truth. But we got on the bus to leave, and some kid on a bike started shooting at our bus. No lie. I didn't understand at the time what was going on, but years later, as I'm doing my study, I own a newspaper. I'm trying to figure out what's going on in the streets and why certain things are happening. And I say, okay, the Pasadena Denver lanes, who are connected to the Denver Lane Bloods in LA, don't get along with the Hoover gang. This is 30 something years later, I'm discovering this. So, a lot of people don't understand the mentality that goes on in a lot of people's mind. I mean, I played 6 years professional baseball, I had a master's degree, own a newspaper, and now I'm circling back to trying to understand what is going on a ground level and why some of the disputes that I just saw was wow, some crazy kids are fighting today at school. But now I'm starting to understand what are some of the dynamics that were behind the things that were going on when we were growing up. And this is a suburb basically east of South Central Los Angeles, Pasadena. Could you imagine if you grew up in, I went to John Muir High School in Altadena, Pasadena. Imagine if you grew up in John Muir High School in South Central Los Angeles, um, where every high school has to be divided up into Blood or Crip, and then you have the Hoovers, and then it's like it's a different level of respect that you got to even have for folks who grew up in a pressurized environment. Um, Folks who grew up in an area where um, you're not expected. You've seen proof that folks don't make it very long. So, whenever you see people who are putting on a bravado, and then you see someone who speaks reason, you can see each layer of that shell being cracked. You really can. And it makes you understand exactly what a lot of folks are going through. I often say, why do folks get tattoos all over their face? That's gonna I've gone and interviewed for a lot of jobs and things like that. That's gonna make it to where you want. And then I had to stop and think like there's certain environments where you go to where it's advantageous to have certain tattoos in certain places. So when your perspective changes and you get into the shoes and into the mind of other people, people that you never thought that you'd be able to get into the mind of, it makes you understand certain conversations. And, frankly, I wanted to watch this interview because I heard Spody Face, he had kind of a in a car in a dark place, and he's like, "Yeah, I marked them out, and I did this, and I did that," and you know, and I was like, "Man." And then I heard Whack 100 on No Jumper. Now, mind you, I don't watch any of these shows, never, but it started coming up on my algorithm. I even started doing parody hood vlogs because I'm like, it's so, it makes so much sense. It puts the other piece of the puzzle on what's going on in the corporate world when you know what's going on the streets. Like, be frank, be honest with yourself. The streets, I remember Ice Cube made a song a long time ago that said, "Gangsters make the world go round." I still bump that song to this day. I think it was a remake of an old song by one of the old groups from the 70s. But shout out Ice Cube. And and one thing I would like to say from this interview, me as an advertiser, I do business with a lot of different people, and I have to think about things on a broader scale, just like the mayor. He has to think about things on a broader scale. The governor has to think about the whole state. The president has to think about the whole country. you know, I don't think it's the right path to go down. I think it's, if there is a such thing as a devil, according to the Bible, the adversary, the deceiver, he would love for um, Hispanics and blacks to be going at it because it takes a lot of pressure off of um, the folks who really are building airplanes, the folks who are building bombs, the folks who are really, really doing things that could really cause a lot of destruction. And they're making deals that are making and breaking countries, regions, and things like that. So, um, shout out to Spody Face and shout out to Bro Rogan and Wack 100 and DC Baby Draco because I've watched each. I've watched a lot of DC Baby Draco's hood vlogs, and tell you the truth, I didn't see anything negative in it because I wanted to understand why these young men who I bump across every day in my day to day life, I work to help people get jobs. That's the main focus of my newspaper is to um, bring down the unemployment rate amongst everybody. Um, Black, Hispanic, white, it doesn't matter. If you have a more affluent community, why do you think Beverly Hills is so nice? It's because everybody has money, everybody has a job, everybody has an income. Um, so those residents are not breaking in each other's cars and not going in each other's houses. It doesn't make any sense. So I'm trying to increase and raise the level of employment and respect and dignity in the community. I love this conversation that these guys had. I have a newfound. Can I say that? Can I say that? Can I say that I have a newfound respect for Whack 100? Um, I'm a person that really doesn't have um, a stake or any. I don't have anything skin in the game to say, well, he's the police or he's not the police because um, I'm not really a part of that. But everybody is a part of that because if we're going to have rules, we want people to play by the rules and we don't want people who say they're one thing and they're another. But if you know something and if you're listening to what they're saying, you have to be able to understand, are you going to follow them or are you going to take what they're saying and go your own way? Um, that's just a decision that every man needs to make. But what I did was I listened. I actually sat there and listened, and I like DC Baby Draco. I've always liked him. I thought if there's anybody that can get under people's skin, he's pretty good at it. He's pretty good at trolling. And I always saw that sparkle in his eye that there's something to his trolling that's saying, hey, man, I want to help you get your money. Don't stop me from getting mine, right? I need to be able to go in these hoods, and that's my bread and butter. Whack 100, he's become the master of the internet. I'm trying to block some channels so that he doesn't come up in my algorithm so much. Just kidding. But I'm learning a lot from just watching the way he sets up scenarios, and it's like, wow, at this point, he has to make so much sense when he's in your face in order to be able to pull this off. And what I'm watching from this interview, he really does. You know, he really makes a lot of sense, makes a whole bunch of sense as far as this internet has a lot of money that is out there for folks to get. And there's a lot of people who's getting it. Um, why can't we transition from being without to being with it and fighting the struggle, right? You know, why do we have to fight the struggle in poverty? Um, there's a lot of other things that maybe, you know, I would like to see equal explanation about what WAC 100 has done. Um, I'd like to kind of know a lot more about Adam 22. One of the things that really bothers me about anybody is if you don't um, respect the creator, because if you think that you just landed here, and I think that is a premise that is, it infects a lot of your other thoughts and ideas moving forward when I listen to you. So I like for folks to realize that there is a God, and you didn't you didn't create this whole thing. But yeah, great conversation. Um, I'm even liking the way that Whack 100 is pulling Adam 22. I think that he's pulling him in a way where it makes a lot more sense. It's a lot more interesting. It's a lot more of a storyline. Um, I saw the way that they pulled down the invincibility of Hoover Gumby. Shout out Gumby. They pulled the invincibility factor of him down immediately. I thought that was very interesting. In the background of what's going on with um, bringing DC baby Draco into the no jumper fold, don't you guys see that that's what's happening? DC baby Draco's being brought into the no jumper fold because his cinematography is second to none. Um, that's just it. His access, his cinematography, the way that he's able to capture for all history what is going on in places where a lot of you guys would not even dare even tread foot, and you're able to see these things. If you are a part of the rival hood and you see a lot of these signs and the graffiti on the wall and the different stores and the, I'm telling you, one of the things that goes into my mind is the people who live there every day and what they're experiencing when they see these group of people. And I didn't know that there are people on patrol and different boundaries of different. I didn't even know that this world was even happening. But now that I'm learning, it's pretty interesting. And guys, check out this interview. It's on the Rillaz podcast, Face and Bro Rogan. Had a Whack 100 with DC Baby Draco. Um, well, I just wanted to kind of put my 2 cents in and my support for what they have going on. And um, shout out 4Extra, shout out all those guys, Munchie B, uh, uh, and Hefe, all those guys. We're out.